Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com and we'll take a look at them after round 1. So we have an anonymous donation today and it is a spicy meatball. I know what you're all thinking. Phil, you can't just keep playing all of these Sheoldred decks. First of all, wrong. Yes, I can. Second of all, we have some sweet channelers in this deck. While I expect most of my Legacy audience is familiar with Dragonraid's Channeler since it's so, common and so good in Blue-Red Delver, you might not know Magmatic Channeler, which has seen a little bit of play in various Painter deck lists, and people have tried it out in a couple other places. As long as there's 4 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard, it will become a 4/4. It will get +3/+1, and you can tap this discarding a card to exile the top 2 cards of your library. You choose one of them, and you may play that card this turn. So this is a very interesting deck. The goal is to use Dragonrage Channeler and Magmatic Channeler to kind of fill up your graveyard, and then you can sneak some things into your graveyard and reanimate them. A discounted Sheoldred sounds cool. A discounted Archon of Cruelty very quickly in a game sounds disgusting. So I'm kind of excited to see where this goes. And kind of the supporting cast here is a handful of discard and removal for the most part, with some cards here that are probably a little slow for the current metagame, but are absolutely fan favorites. Rounding out the main deck, we have Fury, which can be a pitch removal spell, or again, can be reanimated very easily. One thing I want to mention here is that the original deck list had Hymn to Turox, where I have Collected Brutality. I think Collective Brutality's discard mode is relevant. And taking a quick look at the mana base that was submitted, here's 4 lands, 5, 6 lands that don't actually contribute towards casting Hymn to Turok, and I just think that's too many. Hymn to Turok is an amazing turn 1 play. It's a good turn 2 play. If you have to wait much more than that, the value of that card starts going down very, very quickly. There's also some other ways that we can fish some cards out of the graveyard. For example, Witherbloom command can kind of act as one of our expressive iteration type cards that can allow us to return a land while destroying something else or draining our opponent. As far as the sideboard goes here, I think I added a couple more surgical extractions than were originally in the list because I'm just running into so much graveyard-based combo online right now. It's just very popular, and I don't think I just want to fully rely on something like Hidetsu Consumes All as graveyard hate. It just feels a little bit slow, but most of our stuff is pretty targeted here. Just kind of taking a quick look at the deck list, we have a lot of new cards in this deck list. We've got Minsc Boo, we've got Sheoldred, we've got Maddening Hex as brand new stuff. And then if we go back a little bit further than that, like Hidetsugu Consumes All and Archon of Cruelty, as well as Fury and Dragonrage Channeler are all relatively new as well. So this definitely has some old vibes, but there's a surprising number of new cards here. Alright, let's see if we can Jund them out today. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing for a lot more sweet Legacy content. And if you're a regular, throw me a like before this video begins. It's the easiest way to support my content for free. If you end up having a sweet deck that you want to see on the channel, or if you want to play around with one of these deck lists, all that information is available in the video description. Let's battle. You ever look at your opening hand and think real hard about whether or not you want to Thoughtseize yourself? That's about where I'm at right now. Okay. So that's a Dryad Arbor. So we're playing against some sort of Yorion Zenith deck, which probably means counterspells. I can use Collective Brutality to discard this Archon on turn 2. So let's start with Thoughtseize. And next turn is gonna look pretty gross. So I can Collective Brutality as a duress that also kills this Dryad Arbor. Okay, I mean, Thoughtseize accomplished its job of taking a counterspell. Aiga. There's probably Boo in there. Alright, Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Pretty good. Is this -2, -2? It is -2, -2. So I'm left in this situation where I have to decide whether or not I want to kill the Dryad Arbor to avoid Minsc Boo, or whether I want to kill the Goblin Shaman token to avoid Minsc Boo. I think it's pretty clearly this one. Like, this requires an attack in to produce the mana, but like this thing getting copied later would be a pain in the butt. Let's escalate this with 2 modes. Let's do a duress, and let's kill a creature. Target opponent, target creature, paying my 2 mana, discarding Archon of Cruelty. I have missed. That's interesting. Also, straight up, how is my opponent casting this Yorion? Like, is it purely off treasure tokens? Or am I just seeing kind of a weird subset of their deck, right? Like, they have to have the blue mana for the Horse of Wills. They pitched a Ponder, right? Okay, yeah, okay. There's reasonable blue stuff here. Just not around currently. I like the look of my opponent's deck. Alright, that is a Yorion to hand. Would super suck for me if, like, the card that my opponent drew for turn was very specifically Force of Will. I think I cast Reanimate before playing a land drop. They don't have to worry about, like, days here. Nice! So that causes my opponent to sacrifice the Dryad Arbor, as well as discard a card, and I've drawn a Lightning Bolt that I can hold up for this turn cycle. Fantastic. I can use that to kill the token if I need to, but the Archon attack should cover that. Alright. Stuff's looking cool for Jund Channelers already. Abundant Growth draw trigger is totally fine. Or Ponder is fine. So in case you're not familiar with the text on this one, whenever it ETBs or attacks, opponent sacks a creature or planeswalker, discards a card, loses 3 life, I draw a card, and gain 3 life. So it's a lot of text. Oh man, do you have Swords to Plowshares? You have Swords to Plowshares. That's a little unfortunate. That leaves me pretty light in terms of resources here, because I don't have a threat as of right now. That's not a threat. Play a Bayou and pass here. I guess I could have played Endurances over Surgical, but Surgical is really good for contributing to, like, instant and sorcery count for the Magmatic Channeler. Like, that super matters. So, I know my opponent has a Yorion in hand. Let's just not deal with that later. Yeah, I'll take the Yorion. Opponent has Swords to Plowshares as their last remaining card. And now we're essentially in this top deck war of who finds a threat first. And I mean threat very, very, very loosely here. Because, like, something like a Sylvan Library would be extremely threatening, right? Dragon Rage Channeler with 3 card types. Right, my creature went to exile. Yeah, I knew the Swords to Plowshares was coming. Oh, ho ho. Prismatic ending instead. Fine with Bolt the Face? Feels like I'm fine with Bolt the Face. Like, pull a Taiga out of the deck or something. This just, like, gives me just the tiniest bit of card selection here. Another Lightning Bolt. I will just put that into my graveyard. I'm not super interested in that right now. I just want something that will more persistently do damage. Or we can draw Bloodstained Mire. Like, that's cool. We're playing more Drago. We're playing more Drago. The issue is at some point someone has a top deck like that. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think I let the hamster hit me this turn. And play Sudden Edict after their Minsc Boo trigger resolves on their turn. Yeah, this is pretty gross. I am going to go ahead and fetch and just take another land out of the deck here. Do not want to be drawing land right now. I guess duressing that Source of Plowshares is fine. Not a particularly strong play right now, but it is the play that I have. I think since my opponent top decked a threat first, they pretty easily win here. Now, I'll go ahead and Sudden Edict this away before my opponent has an opportunity to just chuck that thing at my face and draw 4 cards. Because that would be very awkward if they were to only play around Sudden Edict. I just don't want to take that chance. They top deck another Minsc Boo. Oh, it's a green sun. I think with Grist and Minsc Boo in play, I'm probably just comfortable moving on to the next game. Like, this isn't gonna happen from this far behind. Like, conceptually, my deck doesn't have that much card advantage. And, like, even if I were to top deck one of my best cards, I'm facing down a Minsc Boo on the other side, plus another Planeswalker. It's not happening. I don't know that Carpet of Flowers is actually good. My opponent played a lot of non-island lands last game. I like Hidetsu Consumes All. I think I like Maddening Hex. I don't think I like Pyroblast. I think I'm looking at these 4 cards. Like, these are playable. I don't really know how to sideboard with this deck. A command is card advantage, but I feel like Hidetsu Consumes All kind of walks the same ground. Really awkward for me to like want to just play this as like a value card to exile Uros though when I have my own things that care about the graveyard. Maybe I don't bring those in. Maybe I'm presenting something very similar to the game 1 deck. I also could see going down a couple of reanimates. This Hidetsu Consumes All situation is like really awkward. I think my opponent's mid game is better than mine. This is a hell of an opener, though. I'm keeping this. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to play just Dragon Rage Channeler on turn 1 to attempt to maximize the Thoughtseize value on turn 2. Or just play a Thoughtseize on 1 to better play around Source of Plowshares. I think I'm just going to try to maximize the value off of this card. Wasteland's fine. Like, this isn't like 100% like the Delver play pattern or anything, because like I don't have cantrips. But generally speaking, I'm guessing that getting Wasteland while I have Dragon Rage Channeler is not the end of the world. That card's good. I think I'll top that. It's really good to put in the graveyard for, like, types for Dragon Rage Channeler. But I think that card is enough of a pain in the butt that I'm gonna keep that there. Holy shit. The opponent has a hand that probably doesn't do anything a huge portion of the time. That was kind of a greedy keep. I think I'll take the Force of Negation here and just kind of keep my opponent off of casting relevant cards. Work towards resolving Maddening Hex. And go from there. I know you have a snow-covered island. Like, you're gonna play that. Alright. Land drop. I will Thoughtseize pre-combat. Bloodstained Mire can absolutely go into the graveyard. Life from the Loam is annoying for later. At this point, I probably just take the other free card. I'll say goodbye to Endurance here. Crash in for 1 with Dragon Rage Channeler. And then next turn I have Maddening Hex. Yep. Good stuff. Oh man, Minsc Boo as well. Love this for me. I'll get Bayou to round out the set of duels. There's a Maddening Hex targeting my opponent. Basically anything that's not a land probably just goes into the graveyard here, because I want a land that badly next turn. And crash in for 1. I do only have 3 types in graveyard still. Maybe this deck needed some baubles or something like that. Reanimate. I mean, I guess I can reanimate in Endurance. Not exactly amazing, but probably take that here. That's a Fury. That can go into graveyard. That turns this into a 3/3. We'll go ahead and send those back into my opponent's deck. Now I have 6 power in play, backed by Maddening Hex, with 2 incredibly powerful 4-drops in hand. There is a little bit of a question of, like, since I had the Sheoldred in hand, should I have just kept the Bloodstained Mire on top of my deck, but, you know, forward. Submit deck as is? Like, a bunch of the stuff here is, like, playable, but slightly awkward in one capacity or another. Like, I really don't mind the Graveyard Hate of Hidetsugu Consumes All, but it's just, like, really awkward if I end up going, like, the Dragon Rage Channeler direction. I really don't know about that. I feel like the Hidetsugu Consumes All probably just shouldn't be in the deck, and, like, maybe those should just be meltdowns. This tension feels very real. Well, I'm gonna keep this hand, and I'm gonna lose to Wasteland. Alright, what are we looking at? Savannah. This is fine. Again, though, Wasteland is so flippin' good here. Like, the worst timeline is the one where I just get, like, end of turn Swords to Plowshares into Wasteland this land. Oh, don't do it just because I said it. That's illegal. That's illegal. Top deck red land? Nope. And white removal, real good here. Alright. I called my shot when I kept the hand. That's very unfortunate. I don't think the hand's a mulligan, because it has, like, 3 threats plus a little bit of reach. Oh, fuck. Nope. God damn it. That was a literal stuck button on my mouse, in case that wasn't abundantly clear from the noises that I was making. Sure. That's so bad, now I don't have a Magmatic Channeler in play. That misclick probably costs me this game. Which is super frustrating. But, like, is what it is. What's taking so long after this brainstorm? Okay, forest, sure. Into a Dryad Arbor. That's fine, that's happening. I don't know if I want to destroy that or not. This is super awkward. Like, because I missed my land drop last turn and put into a very bad spot, I'm passing the turn with Lightning Bolt available here because of Minsc Boo. Yorion to hand, sure. That's fine. Now, I think I'll play a Magmatic Channeler. Still leaving up Lightning Bolt for Minsc Boo. It just feels important to do that. That's fine. Beginning of combat? Yeah, that's fine. I'll take 1 from Dryad Arbor. If Dryad Arbor's still there at end of turn, I might destroy it. Since I do have a second Lightning Bolt. But this isn't particularly strong. Alright, well, I've got a bunch of basics randomly. I think I'm mostly interested in the marginal thinning here. I do not want to reanimate Dryad Arbor before somebody asks. Reanimating an Icefang Coatl is slightly more interesting. If for no other reason than just to, like, keep some cards flowing on my side. Alright. Let's fetch. This will probably be a Badlands. I am willing to take that creature out of the way. I'm looking to surveil into, like, a Minsc Boo or something of that nature. You Swords to Plowshares me in response. Absolutely. This is an above average draw. This is probably an above average draw. Go ahead and top that. I am unsure if I am supposed to play it immediately, though. That's much less clear to me. Yorion as a 4/5, but doesn't quite just die to Fury. And just in case you're not super familiar with the text here, this is permanents you own and control, so my opponent can't just blink an Icefang Coatl if I reanimate it. I think I'm just going to go ahead and play this. My opponent has just fired off 2 Swords to Plowshares kind of back to back. While they could have another, it's not like the most likely thing in the world or anything. Alright, no end of turn fetch there, which is nice. I am totally fine if you just play a Naked Yorion. Oh, there's a fetch. They kind of tapped and untapped all their mana. They've left up a tropical island. There's the Yorion. That's fine. They've got a 4/5. This isn't the best for me. I think I'm just going to trade Fury for Yorion and then reanimate, rather than do an Icefang Coatl first. Because this line leaves me, in all likelihood, with a 3/3 double striker in play. Fine. We'll go ahead and do a little tradesy. Black, black, green, green, red, red. Alright, so colors are balanced as of right now. Reanimate my 3/3 double striker. Surgical extraction, sure. Alright, so we're in this awkward top deck war where I think my opponent's top decks are noticeably better than my own. Because that's what cantrips do. Oh, and Veil of Summer, sure. Wastelands, whatever. That card doesn't matter right now. Well, I guess that's not entirely true, right? What can this return? Land. Yeah, I think I'm just chilling with this Witherbloom command. Like, the gap in power level between this and Expressive Iteration is pretty huge in this specific matchup. Yeah, and this is what I'm talking about, right? Like, my opponent top decks 1 Ponder, and then that's 4 looks at a Minsc Boo caliber card. And I just don't have that in this deck. Alright, no shot. Oh, fuck. Okay. I will get buried by Field of the Dead over the course of a few turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This can be my 7th land. Alright. Oh man, this can't even kill a zombie. Yeah, this doesn't kill the zombie. I guess it's the Drain 2 mode. Target player mills 3 cards. That targets me. Drain target opponent. Paying 2. Doesn't really matter here. Got more than enough black, more than enough red, more than enough green. Make my land drop here. 2, 4, 6, 7. I mean, Archon of Cruelty is a hell of a bomb to draw. Like, I'm very happy with this as a draw. Again, though, if my opponent just cantrips into a Minsc Boo, this game is over pretty much immediately. Because it's just so much insulation from the Archon. Primeval Titan? Yeah. Oh, it's Green Sun for 5. So what, that could be Titania? If my opponent's got a spicy meatball in there. Oh, it's an Omnath instead. Well, then it could have been Green Sun for 4 and left mana open. But I guess it doesn't matter too much. They might not have known what they were fetching for. Okay, there's the land. I really hope I have a fetchable and this isn't just, like, embarrassing when I don't. Badlands. Doing it the hard way. Let's go. Alright, it's resolved, which is powerful. Again, though, opponent can have a Swords to Plowshares here, and it's very good. I think if my Archon of Cruelty makes it around the table and I get a single attack with it, I will probably win the game. Ice Fang Coatl. Well, that's annoying. Okay, there's fetch lands. That's very good. I guess I should zoom in on this one. Like, Legacy-only players, you're probably not overly familiar with it. You get 4 life the first time, 4 mana the second time, 4 damage to each opponent, and each planeswalker you don't control the third time. I'm also less certain that I just immediately win the game now that my opponent has Ice Fang Coatl and a fetch land. That is a lot of value. Oh no, there's a follow-up spell of some kind as well. There's a lot of tapped mana. Gotta be like a large Green Sun? Like Green Sun 4 Primeval Titan? Yeah, there we go. Well, that was a hell of a turn. Oh, an opponent has no cards in hand? That was a good string for them then. For the Magic Boomers out there. Remember when Lotus Cobra was good? Like, that was a dominant card in its standard format. Alright, so I've taken a little bit of damage from the Omnath. Now I have to figure out how on earth I can possibly win from this position. So I attack, my opponent loses a zombie and Ice Fang Coatl. And then damn near hits me for lethal. If I don't attack, I trade with Primeval Titan in combat and take 8, 12, 13 damage anyway. I don't think I can win without another card here. I think I'm going to attack with this, try to trade it in combat, maybe rip it again with Reanimate or something, but I just can't beat this inevitability here. Especially after just finding a land there. Yeah, I guess I don't have to concede. Maddening Hex can, you know, maybe do stuff, you know. But this is all around not nearly enough power. Like, I think the only way I possibly win is my... No, like, the Primeval Titan just guarantees 4 life with Omnath on attack. Oh, they're just gonna replay it. That's cute. Because this card also cantrips, just in case that wasn't clear at the beginning. All right, I'm gonna value my own time here and move on. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. Moxfield is a deck building website for Magic the Gathering, although they do a lot more. For example, do you like Wordle, but wish it was with Magic cards? Moxfield has such a thing that they call Moxel. So if you want to have a little bit of fun and rack your brain while thinking about 5-lettered Magic cards, please consider checking out this website and maybe check out the deck building stuff while you're there. All right, round 2, I'm on the play. Fine with keeping my opening hand here. I probably lead on a Badlands into Dragon Rage Channeler. I think with the 3 colors of mana in hand here, I can't just lead on 2 basics in any combination and be super comfortable with it. All right, against Underground Sea, I love that I have a Thoughtseize. But against Underground Sea, I don't really like most of the rest of the hand. Is this target player? That's cool. So it's most likely that I would need 2 black sources in a turn. I guess let's get Bayou. So the real question then is, like, do I play Witherbloom Command right now, or do I play it after a Doomsday? I probably just play it right now. All right, target player mills 3, drain 2. Choose target player. Choose target opponent. Black, green. Edge of Autumn sacrificing the land. Fucking wild. Put that into my graveyard. I mean, you got me with that one. You absolutely got me with that one. That's a unique line right there. But I guess that same thing would have happened after a Doomsday in a lot of worlds. The Dark Writ too. Fuck me. Ugh. Alright, my opponent has sorted out their pile. Notably, I didn't think I was 100% like to just get there with the Witherbloom command line, but like I would have expected like Daze or Force to be the thing that stopped me, not Edge of Autumn. Okay. So I've got 2 card types in graveyard. If I draw a land next turn, Minsc Boo is 4 damage. Is 5-6 total with Dragon Rage Channeler getting in for a hit. I think I need Cast Thoughtseize here before I make a further decision. That is a land. Fuck, I should have fetched first. I fucked up. I should have fetched first so that if I found a land, I could have surveilled and left it on top after playing Magmatic Channeler. But I didn't do that, now did I? I'm gonna leave that on top, and I might fetch it away. That's Thassa's Oracle in hand. I think I'll be taking that. There's a world where they get me with Reanimate here. Also a world where I draw Reanimate. But I'm going to leave Sudden Edict up this turn in case my opponent can't empty their library for Thassa's Oracle. Cavernon Wizard. Merfolk Wizard. Okay, sure. 3 cards in library. 2 cards in library. 1 card in library. 0 cards in library. That's unfortunate. It's not overly surprising, but it's unfortunate. GG. Yeah, triple Street Wraith. I don't think I'm super good at this matchup. Fury doesn't really seem relevant. Those are probably gonna go. That probably gets me Pyroblasts and Maddening Hex. Sudden Edicts are very bad here. Those can go. Then I'll fill the deck with something. Magmatic Channeler also pretty bad here. It's just very slow. Not that Dragon Rage Channeler isn't in this matchup, but, you know. Like, I think I want to cut all of those cards, play the Hidetsu, Consumes All, and then play Surgical, so that if I Thoughtseize or Collective Brutality, a Thassa's Oracle, or a Doomsday, I can just rip them out of the deck. I think that's where I'm at in terms of strategy here. Possible that I should play Carpet because I've got a decent amount of fat. Yeah, like this is literally exactly what I just talked about, right? Alright, Badlands. Thoughtseize target you. That's not a great hand. I'm very tempted to just take the Brainstorm. Leave them with the Force of Will. I'm gonna take that Brainstorm and leave them with the Force of Will. There's Delta. And we're chilling. There's another Thoughtseize. Just kind of preemptively take the Force of Will. That's probably fine. I don't think I take the Dark Ritual and try to surgically extract the Dark Rituals. I just don't think that's what this game is about. Miss that. There is a Street Wraith. That is fine. Be taking the Force of Will here. And we're chilling. Probably mess up a lot of Doomsday piles with a combination of these two cards. Yeah, you can play out your Lotus Petal. Like, that's fine. Okay, there goes Street Wraith. That is also fine with me. I'll pick up a Bayou here. Hitotsugu consumes all. That's a punish for my opponent playing out the Lotus Petal. Do I want to reanimate a Street Wraith instead this turn? The mana from the Lotus Petal doesn't really matter. I can go ahead and Witherbloom command. Let's mill 3, drain 2. Black, green. I'll return this land. Did not hit what I was looking for there. I'll go ahead and fetch another black source of some kind. I'm never going to need green, green. I could need red, red, so I'll grab another Badlands. Reanimate Street Wraith. Here we go. You may absolutely brainstorm in response to that. Alright. I technically have a clock in play. Let's see what my opponent's got. I just got an awkward set of tools at my disposal here. Okay, sure, that's fine. I don't super want to show my opponent the new land, but my life total's low enough that might just be correct to play that out. Alright, the opponent goes to 11, which is okay. Then I'll go ahead and play this out. Junks the Lotus Petal. And it's not nothing, but it doesn't exactly feel good. Sure, that's fine. So my issue is that, like, my opponent has enough resources here that, like, when they find the Doomsday, they can probably just go off in one turn. Alright. There's sacking an Edge of Autumn. A Leyline of the Void. If you Helm of Obedience kill me next turn, I won't even be mad. I promise. I'm not going to use this surgical now, just in case you were curious. Okay, that's not great. Alright, I'll play the Bloodstained Mire that my opponent does know about. Crash in for 3 damage. Opponent goes to 7. Doomsday's spooky for me. Sheoldred spooky for me. Marginal thinning or 1 more point of life for Sheoldred purposes. I think marginal thinning. I would just love to draw an interaction spell. I have green, green, I have red, red, I have black, 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 so this doesn't really matter. Grab a basic, I guess. Nope. Oops, all lands. Play Bayou, crash in for 3. Unfortunately, this thing's rigged. Well, I guess I've still got lethal next turn. Woohoo! Okay, we got there. I mean, we have to do it another time, but we took one of them. This was turn 6. I think we got a little bit lucky, if I'm being honest. Hitotsugu consumes all is really slow on the draw. I think on the draw, just going to sub that in for something that can come down a turn or two faster. And on the draw, I think I'm kind of interested in Carpet. It can help me catch up and actually drop some of this bigger stuff. Can I get rid of my Archons? And just, like, reanimate my opponent's Street Wraiths? This is really good if I do manage to cheat it in early. But it's kind of hard to do. would leave me with 8 creatures. It's fine. It's fine, right? It's fine. This is not a perfect hand. This might be good enough, though. Like, I can hold up Pyroblast for a cantrip on my opponent's turn. Oh shit, they're going now. Well, hopefully they don't make a pile that can beat Pyroblast. Alright. Pile has occurred. Unfortunately, I don't see the Cavern of Souls. At a quick glance, assuming that's still in the deck, that beats the stuff that I've got going on here. So, like, the next question is, like, how quickly can my opponent go off? Seems like Street Wraiths are involved here. Yeah, there's the Cavern. I think I'm going to be 1 damage short of killing my opponent with a Lightning Bolt this turn. Uh-huh. Oh, wait, shit, I can Pyroblast this, though. I 100% will. Super awkward that my opponent, like, sloppily used Lotus Petal instead of Underground Sea there. Oh shit, we're getting another turn! Okay. I need to count Street Wraiths. None. I can probably leave up double Lightning Bolt and kill my opponent if they're going for Street Wraiths. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Ooh, buddy. Okay, there's a Street Wraith. And now there's another Street Wraith. Hell yeah. Fetch. Get Taiga. And before my opponent draws whatever this card is, I will fire off both of these lightning bolts. Bolt you. Down to 3. Bolt you. Yes! Yes! GG's. Okay. Thoughtseize myself turn 1. Reanimate Archon turn 2. I don't think I say no to that. Flawless attractive now. What if I just like fucking discard to hand size? What if I just like fucking discard to hand size this turn? Thoughtseize my opponent next turn. And then reanimate the following turn. Let's fucking go. Thinking with portals. Discard Archon. Alright. Basic Swamp. Thoughtseize you. I will take Swords to Plowshares. And the coast is clear for next turn. So, opponent... Well, they don't want to play out a Ledger Shredder unless they drew exactly Force of Will as their card for turn. Otherwise, like, Archon of Cruelty just eats it. Oh, they drew Life from the Loam. Sure. That's fine. Like, that gives them a little bit of insulation for what I've got going on here. So I know they drew Life from the Loam, so I can just cast Reanimate on Archon before playing my land drop. I don't have to play around days here. Alright. So Archon's in play. Opponent has discarded the Carpet of Flowers, unsurprisingly. And I'll play Taiga so that I can Lightning Bolt my opponent. This is pretty respectable. I don't think I need to Lightning Bolt my opponent end of turn. Oh, Collective Brutality is cool. Again, I don't really need to do anything pre-combat. Although I might just play out both Seiju so that I can have both Sudden Edict and Lightning Bolt available. I think I'm into that. Alright. So, I get this whole Archon trigger thing. Alright, drawn another land. There goes a Prismatic Ending. Opponent is down to 6. I want to hold up Lightning Bolt. I think that means I'm just casting a Collective Brutality. I'm interested in escalating it. I want a Duress and a Drain. Use target opponent. Use target opponent again. Pay my mana. What am I willing to show my opponent? Probably Magmatic Channeler. Oh, right. I knew that. It's fine. I'm going to kill my opponent in response to them fetching. Okay, there's a Dredge for life from the loam. That's a-okay with me. Lightning Bolt, target you. This is a weird amalgamation of a deck that I am playing. Good luck sideboarding, opponent. Okay, so my opponent is kind of this Bant control-ish deck. I'm probably interested in the Pyroblasts here. I'm probably interested in Maddening Hex. I'm probably interested in Hidetsugu Consumes All, and maybe even Carpet Flowers as well. It's a lot of potential cards. Sudden Edict is cool versus Ledger Shredder. Like, am I just supposed to get rid of Dragon Rage Channeler if I'm gonna bring in Hidetsugu Consumes All? Seems maybe reasonable. Feather Bloom Command doesn't really seem good. Like, I get that it's card advantage, which is cool. But the modes here aren't super strong. I think I'm going to get rid of that. Like, the mana that would help me make is sort of replaced by Carpet of Flowers. This is a very strange deck configuration. How many Lightning Bolts do I actually want? They're good against Ledger Shredder until they're not. I think my plan is hard cast this rather than reanimate it. So I might do something that looks kind of like this. But definitely a little unsure about my approach. Yeah, this is a weird hand. Alright. I really like Maddening Hex in the matchup, which is why I'm going to keep this hand. But I'm not the biggest fan of just like naked Oh, are you keeping a one-lander? Wow, they're keeping a one-lander. That is the fear. I think I'm gonna fetch some basics to start things off. Basic mountain. Basic swamp. Start off by casting the Magmatic Channeler. I don't know, maybe it's dumb to just get the basics in the face of my opponent skipping a land drop. But if they were getting cheeky and just like not playing out a Wasteland to hide the fact that they had Wasteland, it like very much matters that I did that. Alright, no shuffle. They've hit their land drop. And they are back in the game. Here's to hoping they don't immediately just have Prismatic Ending or Force Effect to deal with Maddening Hex. Just main phase fetch Tropical Island. Sure. I think kind of feels like Blue Elemental Blast. Given that, I think I'm going to go ahead and attack first and see if Blue Elemental Blast happens. I don't know. Maybe you just Blue Elemental Blast that at sorcery speed, though, if you have it. IDK. Opponent goes to 17. And I will attempt Maddening Hex. Force of Negation. I got an Expressive Iteration for my trouble. So that's nice. That's a life from the loam. That is a lot of card advantage, unfortunately. Sure. Plateau. So the red means that, like, Minsc Boo is something that I need to be aware of. 2 islands right now. Alright. So there is a Carpet of Flowers. I'll move to second main phase, where I'll make some red. And then just play a Fury. Just as a 3/3 double striker. Like, I don't always need to play this as a removal spell. And we're not very far away from just hardcasting an Archon. Uro's not too bad. I have a Sudden Edict to deal with that. Like, it's annoying. Don't get me wrong. It's very annoying, especially with Life from the Loam, like, being paired with it. Ooh, opponent has Dragon Rage Channeler as well. Sure. You have a Swords. Prismatic Ending. Sure, that's very good. Oh my god, I forgot to fucking play my Carpet of Flowers. We'll say there was a tactical reason I did that. Not that it was just a dumb mistake that means that I don't have lethal next turn. We'll say that I really wanted to leave up Sudden Edict. Recording for content is going in your head. I know exactly the play that I want to make this turn and then not doing it. Aggressive Iteration is fine. Yeah, Ledger Shredder. Sure, that's okay. I'm not going to Sudden Edict that. I'll Fury that instead. So my opponent would have been dead, at least in theory, if this Fury was on board. But now I get value from the Fury instead, and isn't that what we're all here for? Oh, I guess I could also just play Archon of Cruelties. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana. Holy shit. Yes, I'll use this ability. Yeah. Archon. Boo. Alright. Crash in for 6 with Fury. Opponent goes to 4. I'm in pretty good shape. So I'll Fury away this Ledger Shredder. Sudden Edict away the Uro. Sure. Mystic Sanctuary, Swords to Plowshares. Oh. Even greedier. Okay, there's the Uro, which draws the Expressive Iteration. Does hit a land drop. Yeah, and now they're just casting Expressive Iteration, looking for the thing that they could have just had anyway. Guarding the Life from the Loam, sick value. Finding Caracas. Sure. Which... No, they put this land into play off Uro, right? So they still have a land drop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So much red mana. Yes. Make red. Cast Fury. Fury will deal 4 to Ledger Shredder. 2 mana. Sudden Edict, getting rid of the Uro. Okay, they had a Swords. That's annoying, but probably fine at the end of the day. This is only a game still because I messed up. Alright, there's the Uro coming back. Unfortunately does bring my opponent up to 9. Alright, I'm gonna add a bunch of red. I am fine casting a Thoughtseize here. Oh, opponent has something. Sure, that's fine. A Force of Will. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I will cast a Fury. We'll deal 4 damage to an Uro. We'll go to combat. I will crash in with a Fury. Yeah, this just forces the Uro into the graveyard and forces my opponent to replay it. Gives me a better chance of actually killing my opponent next turn in a lot of worlds. Brainstorm, sure. That's fine. I assume at this point my opponent just casts an Uro. They're tapping this poorly. Okay, yeah, that's better. They were tapping it previously in a way that did not leave up blue, which was foolish. So good catch on their end. Alright, opponent is dead to a Sudden Edict. I have returned Life from the Loam. What'd I just say? Actually, I'm gonna say no to this. That way, in the world where one of these things gets bounced with like a Brazen Borrower effect, I can play the Fury again with the Carpet of Flowers mana in my second main phase. Brainstorm's fine. 3 looks at Swords to Plowshares. My opponent has used multiple of them already. Okay, I get there. Took more turns than it needed to. But GG's. I just ground through a lot of stuff there. We're 2-1. Okay, this is round 4. I don't like this hand. It just doesn't have enough going on here. Yikes. Am I keeping this? So, most of this stuff is good draws minus reanimate. Like, am I going to try to get through the early game with a lightning bolt and hope Minsc Boo works? Or do I want to go to 5? I don't think this deck plays very well from 5. Super reluctant keep. Like, incredibly reluctant keep. See what we're playing against. It is Scalding turn. Delvin? Ponderin. Notably, it is off a basic. It is not off a volcanic island. That tips the scales slightly more likely in the direction of combo. Also not a snow-covered island, so it's slightly less likely that it's like some sort of Ice Fang, Coatli control deck. Sudden Edict's not bad if we're facing down Show and Tell. I'm gonna go ahead and hold that up. I say, as if I have other choices. Alright. Okay. We are Delver. I am going to just Lightning Bolt that, and I'll Sudden Edict it if things don't go my way the first time around. But I would love to Lightning Bolt that so that I can Sudden Edict the barrier threat later on. Not my ideal draw. I also have not done anything to take a daze out of my opponent's hand yet. It is awkward for me. Sure. That's an actual factual Delver of Secrets. I guess I will remove that with Sudden Edict. I'm just, like, not really happy about it. I don't know if I'm gonna play Minsc Boo this turn. Like, it's so dazable. It's like Daze, Force of Will, or Force of Negation all counter this card. The only thing I gain by not playing it here is that it's not exposed to Lightning Bolt right now, which matters. But I think I'm gonna hold. Like, there's worlds where I just, like, draw a Thoughtseize, and I get to make this safer, like Thoughtseize or Collective Brutality, or I just play some other card first, which my opponent wants to counter. I think my opponent drew Murktide Regent. Yeah, that's fine. I will probably shuffle just so I don't know. Or sorry, so my opponent doesn't know what card I draw. I think I'm good with that. Grab another Swamp. Grab another Mountain so it's easier to hardcast a Fury later. Could see that. Alright. Bobble occurs. Lightning Bolt is a reasonable draw. We'll bolt that Delver. That's a force pitching a Daze. Am I willing to go in? Being a Daze go, I think I'm willing to go in. Like, it's very possible this gets stopped still. Alright. Am I getting bolted? I'm getting bolted. I will use this ability. I still have a 1/1 haste trampler. There's nothing you can do about it. Like, I succeeded in taking 3 cards out of my opponent's hand that turn. Like, that's the good news. It's possible I could have kept waiting on that Minsc Boo, but the waiting is so dangerous, because at any point my opponent can just draw Murktide Regent. Hello. That's interesting. I would like to reanimate my Minsc Boo. Can we do that? Can we make that one work? Alright. Opponent's at 15 after this attack. I'm gonna go ahead and reanimate a Dragon Rage Channeler. Brazen Borrower, bounce my Dragon Rage Channeler, play it for 1 mana, get wrecked, nerd. What the fuck? Come on. Come on. I'm a little salty. How does that deck literally always have it? I'll be like, okay, their only out is the one of Brazen Borrower. Or I'll have seen one, and it's like, okay, if they're playing a second Brazen Borrower, they've got me here. And then it actually happens. This is 9 damage in the air, followed by another attack for even more than that next turn. I'm dead. That's frustrating. I had an opportunity to just, like, jam the Minsc Boo earlier and hope it worked out. I liked how I played that game, but my opponent drew a lot of threats. Now, one of them wasn't Murktide Regent, which would have been the more immediate threat, but, like, they drew 2 Dragon Rage Channelers, 2 Delvers, plus Brazen Borrower, getting back another Dragon Rage Channeler. Like, that was just more than my removal could manage. Alright. I like these 7 cards for sure. Maddening Hex is playable, and here we see a real difference between Surgical and Leyline. How do I feel about Witherbloom Command? It's usually not killing a creature. Probably cutting that here for that reason. The reanimates on Furies are cool. Just, like, awkward that I want to bring in Hidetsugu Consumes All. Do I not want to play Thoughtseize just because it costs me life? I could see that, and then I just have to cut 1 card. Really awkward that some of this stuff does 2 damage instead of 3. I think I just kind of accept that. I think I'm going to get rid of a Reanimate. It'll leave me a little lighter than I would like for early plays that aren't removal spells. But I think I just accept that. I'll keep this hand, maybe grabbing a Taiga on turn 1. I don't think I want a basic. I think it's just too awkward to grab basic forest specifically. Let's grab Taiga. And the world that I'm scared of is counterspell on this into Wasteland me. But we are not in that timeline, luckily. So that's nice. And I hopefully get pretty good at playing around days this game. Okay, there's a Valk. I'm getting at least 1 mana here. There's a Delver, that's fine. Bobble is fine. I've got the Hidetsu consumes all Carpet of Flowers combo going on. So that's pretty sick. Ooh, Minsc Boo. Yes. And black. I'll play a land drop. I don't know if I want a Sudden Edict immediately. I kind of just want to play Magmatic Channeler and make my opponent dedicate some resources to that. Like, I have these really good cards for the long game, and I can do some filtering with Magmatic Channeler in the meantime. If this was a Dragon Rage Channeler, I would have immediately removed it. But it's not. Ponder's fine. Okay, Steam Vents is cool for me. We're just shocking and passing. I'm good with that. Oh, okay, cool. I got my opponent to spend some resources on that card. I'm very much good with that. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 off Carpet of Flowers. I know my opponent has Force of Will, so I think I'm just going to Sudden Edict this turn. Alternatively, I can use Hidetsu Consumes All as bait, but I really don't want to lose this Carpet yet. Yeah, so I think I just kind of accept that this is a little awkward. Just go ahead and remove that creature. I'm going to intentionally try to get this Hidetsu Consumes All countered. Because it seems like one of the things that would beat me here is a Murktide Regent. And this sometimes stops that. Damn it. I'm just trying not to throw away these better cards. That Force of Will, and I just failed at that. Okay, great. Expressive Iteration means no Murktide. Okay. My opponent got their land drop. That's fine. This Force of Will is super awkward for me, though. Alright. Graveyards are nuked. And now, hopefully, I can just kind of chill and make it to the late game where my cards do stuff that matters. Maybe I didn't give my opponent enough credit, like, as a player, by making this bait play. Brainstorm's fine. Okay, there's another land drop. Dragon Rage Channeler is fine. I'll fire off Lightning Bolt, either in response to a spell or at their end step. Like it's at their end step. Get rid of this. Alright, it's gone. Not doing a very good job of baiting this Force of Will, unfortunately. It's not like Magmatic Channeler here is the biggest prize. Not a 4/4 yet. Once it's a 4/4, it avoids Lightning Bolt. Alright, do you have a bolt for my Vessel of the All-Consuming? No. Something similar. Alright. Unfortunately, that is the second expressive iteration of the game, so my opponent's pretty far ahead as far as card advantage goes. And, like, the graveyard's already restocked, so, like, Murktide Regent can already just come back into play, which is super unfortunate. Okay, we're just gonna play that game. Oh, for the Hydroblast. Sure, I guess that's reasonable. Oh. Sure. That Force of Will is still over there. Days entered the exile zone? That's almost certainly wrong. I'm gonna assume that was a misclick. So there's the land drop. My Minsc Boo is not looking great right now. Not discarding instants or sorceries to make this better. Unfortunately. I already nuked my graveyard once here. I think I've got to try this, though. I do think I discard the Fury. Oh. Yeah, I'll attempt to play the Reanimate. Alright, there's a land drop. Let's reanimate. Target Fury. Pay the black. Now, unfortunately, like, this is 5 damage that ends up just eating the Hydroblast. But, like, I've got to try to work through these resources that my opponent has, or I can never resolve this card, which is the way that I'm hoping to win the game. Sure, that's fine. It's possible I should have just gone for the Dragon Rage Channeler, but like there's worlds where they just let the Dragon Rage Channeler sit in play. Like my opponent has played very patiently, and I don't know that the Dragon Rage Channeler is a big enough prize for my opponent. I think this game is showing one of the reasons why I don't like Magmatic Channeler is like this isn't a cantrip deck that just like in the course of one turn can just go like Brainstorm, Ponder, EI, and just fill up the graveyard for it in a single turn. Oh, Force of Will is a 1-for-1. Alright. Discard the Wooded Foothills. Go to exile. Yeah, that was a 0-for-1. I'll choose Pyroblast. No point in casting Boo. Yep. I guess I can Pyroblast a land or something, but I'm just gonna make sure that my opponent doesn't cast like a Brainstorm or something at my end step. Yeah, I am so dead. Especially, like, since my opponent isn't playing cards, like, they've probably got multiple counterspells in hand. Very unhappy with my position in this game. Yeah, okay. At least it ends quickly now. Like, that's Murktide Regent backed by Force of Will. Unless I find, like, Sudden Edict, the game is just over in favor of my opponent. Alright. There's a Dragon Rage Channeler. I will cast a Dragon Rage Channeler. I don't think that's good enough for the Force of Will. And I'm dead to Murktide Regent hit plus Lightning Bolt effect. I will be blocking here just because I don't think I'm winning unless I draw Sudden Edict. Like, I don't think that I can just turn the corner on this game without finding that card specifically, or like a Pyroblast. Okay, that is the third EI of the game. Finding a Brainstorm. Yeah. So if you're wondering why Delver is good, it's this. Just like 2 mana, 8/8s, incredible card advantage with Expressive Iteration, and then Mystic Sanctuary to buy it back. Threats that are good enough that you have to use removal spells for them on in the early game, so that you can't actually answer the Murktide Regent in the late game. Yeah. At this point, the only possible way I can win is casting the Minsc Boo. Green, green, black, black, red, red. Dual land choice doesn't matter much here. But there is no world where I expect this spell to resolve. My opponent has had so much time to sculpt. Or if it does resolve, I'm just dead. Because my opponent just 8s me and then bolts me. Okay, yeah, there's the force that I've been playing around. So maybe I will get one more draw for Sudden Edict. But I was dead to Lightning Bolt there, or to another Murktide Regent. Okay. Yeah, now Sudden Edict isn't an out. Alright. Not going to show my opponent that card. I'm just going to go ahead and concede here. GG. That was an awkward one. I had some decisions in the early game that like may or may not have been right, like with like trying to use this Hidetsu Consumes All as a bait spell. But ultimately, that Force of Will that my opponent had would have gotten the Minsc Boo at any point of the game, and that was like my big card that mattered. So without the ability to resolve that, everything else that I did didn't really matter. Alright, I will be keeping my opening hand here. I'll play some number of these 3 cards in an order, and hope that that does something meaningful. I have not been super impressed with either of these cards in this deck, sadly. Like, the Dragon Rage Channeler isn't filling the graveyard fast enough, and the Magmatic... Oh, fuck, okay. And the Magmatic Channeler isn't super fast as far as value is concerned. Do I want to duress my opponent this turn? Can it wait a turn? I do not believe that it can wait a turn. It's just so important for me to take those initial, like, crop rotation sort of cards. I'm going to play this. Go ahead and escalate. So I'll duress and drain my opponent. Target you, pay the mana, discard the Archon of Cruelty. I will absolutely just surveil that land into the graveyard here. I, in theory, need to be the beatdown in this. God damn it. I, in theory, need to be the beatdown in this matchup, but my opponent has such good inevitability here. And here we kind of see the ability, like, I'm missing Grim Monolith here, which means that my opponent is going to get to play these extremely strong cards. And, like, my Collective Brutality, which specifically takes instants and sorceries, is just, like, not doing its thing. So, like, I took a Warping. Oh, my opponent's taking the time to play a Chalice. Sure, that's fine. Man, I only have one instant and sorcery in the graveyard for, like, Magmatic Channeler purposes. That's rough. Alright. I mean, I guess I play this. It'll let me discard 1-drops to try to make land drops or whatever. I've been taken off of Reanimate, which is kind of a big deal. I'm gonna get my 1 point of damage in. But, like, this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? Like, this is turn 3. My Dragon Rage Channeler is not attacking for 3. And, like, does not have good prospects to be able to attack for 3. I just think these cards in this configuration are ultimately just too slow. This, like, 5/5 followed by the follow-up 5/5 is just so likely to eat me alive. Ugh. Alright. Discard an Archon, try to find something new to play. That is a 0 for 1. Right, I can't actually cast that Minsc Boo. That's frustrating. So I will cast this purely to put something into my graveyard and to surveil. My opponent doesn't have Wasteland, at least not in hand, so I'm going to take this opportunity to grab Bayou before this surveil trigger goes off. Sudden Edict's a very good draw. Guess I will top that. Unfortunately, like, topping that means that I have a 1/1, which isn't great. There's a lot of worlds where this just gets converted into another card with this. Yeah, I don't feel good about this. Right, like, I get attacked for 10, I play a Sudden Edict, I get attacked for 5, I'm at 1. These things have trample. This actually might just be the point of the game where I stop playing as to not show my opponent more cards. I don't think it's happening from here. I think my sideboard is very bad for this matchup, because, like, Maddening Hex is non-creature spells, and my opponent's playing a lot of creatures. So I think I need to, like, basically run back the Game 1 deck, but I don't really think the Game 1 deck's good against my opponent. There were Blood Moons in the first draft of this deck, but I don't super think those are good either, because I just don't kill my opponent quickly enough to take advantage of, like, a 1 or 2 turn respite that I would get from Blood Moon. Collective Brutality is pretty bad, but it's a way to discard Archon of Cruelty, which does matter. I can play Oof over, like, Witherbloom Command, but Witherbloom Command actually has some onboard targets in things like maps and Grim Monoliths, so maybe I can catch something sometimes. This is a hand of Magic the Gathering cards. They're, like, without cantrips, this card is just so much worse. I don't think I can keep this. This is also not playable. I will be going to 5. This is a good 5-card hand. I will be keeping this. But a lot of the good of my hand depends on what is in my opponent's hand. Like, I keep this. I think Minsc Boo always goes back. I think Culligan's Command goes back over Sheoldred. Although that is a tougher decision. I'm going to Thoughtseize my opponent, try to take a giant monster, and reanimate it, hoping that they don't have turn 1 Chalice. Okay. Good. Now, which one do I take? I can take Thought-Knot Seer, which then takes Reality Smasher, or I can just reanimate Reality Smasher and start going to town on them as fast as possible. The Thought-Knot Seer play is so much value. I think it's the Thought-Knot Seer. Although that one's kind of tough. Like, the Thought-Knot Seer is the value-oriented play. The other play is, like, I play this here. The other play is the play that just says, like, hey, you need to beat this or I win. The issue with this play is that if my opponent draws another Reality Smasher type card in the next 2 turns, it's real rough for me. I mean, I'm taking the Smasher. I've gotta be worried about the short term. And why couldn't have they had that in their opening hand? That would have just been a 2-turn clock, no questions asked. Alright, Magmatic Channeler isn't particularly good in the face of Warping Whale. I go ahead and attack and hope that my opponent uses the Warping Whale to just gain a little bit of life here. Nope. I'll play Magmatic Channeler. So, Warping Whale exiles a creature with power or toughness. So, that's just gonna get the axe here. So this is the problem with the Thought-Knot Seer play, right? Like, opponent has time to draw into something better in a way that they don't if I take Reality Smasher. Alright. Alright. They are going aggro since I cast a Reanimate. The good news is I get a Sheoldred. I think I'm the beatdown still. Put my opponent to 15, and then I can decide whether or not I want to trade the Sheoldred. My opponent gets drained for 2. I'm not dead to the Reality Smasher, because I'm effectively at 11 life. So if my opponent attacks, I can crack them back for 8. Oh, cool. Alright, so I am probably dead to this. I have outs. That's not it. So now at this point, I have to chump block with Thought-Knot Seer. My opponent gets to draw a card, and I'm almost certainly dead. Oh, do you just have a third Reality Smasher? Okay, if you just got the third Reality Smasher, this hand wasn't happening either way, I don't think. GG's. And we end up with a 2-3 in this league. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Cool idea or execution. I don't think this deck is playable without blue mana. I think it's just the easy way to put it. Dragon Rage Channeler doesn't grow quickly enough without blue, and Magmatic Channeler does not become a 4-4 quickly enough without blue. So I think if you want to play this deck, you need to cut like the Witherbloom commands and the Minsc Boos in order to just go and play some cantrips, and you probably cut K command as well, and like play like some cantrips, some expressive iterations. And if you have cantrips, you can play fewer copies of some of the Reanimate, Archon of Cruelty stuff. You also might need to just like cut Sheoldreds as well. Like, also at that point, like, why not play Murktide Regent? But then at that point, you're just like blue-red Delver that's working way too hard, right? If you owned a blue, you can also think about Ledger Shredder, which would work really well with the Archon of Cruelty plan. But kind of ultimately, I did not feel like this deck fired on all cylinders in a lot of the games. Like, we had some good games, we had some very close games, we were close to going 3-2, but a lot of the games we won were things working out very well in my favor, right? Like, oh, I accidentally made an Archon of Cruelty and it took over the game. I do not believe we ever had a 4-4 Magmatic Channeler, and we didn't attack with a Dragon Rage Channeler that was a 3-3 very many times. I think I attacked with it as a 3-3 once or twice, but not very many times. And a lot of times, like, I was sideboarding out some number of this to just play the sideboard cards, and like, those sideboard cards were doing work, right? Carpet of Flowers allowing me to cast the Archon of Cruelty or multiple Furies, like those things did work. It wasn't the core of the deck, unfortunately. I like the idea here, but ultimately, I think you're working too hard for Legacy standards. And I think a lot of these cards, like Witherbloom Command, are, and really Culligan's Command as well, are just kind of underpowered for the current metagame. I also think that Minsc Boo isn't super great in this deck. Like, with a land count of 22, no acceleration, like, this got stuck in my hand a handful of times as well. Hidetsugu Consumes All also was really awkward when, like, I have 8 cards in the main deck that care about number of, like, permanents in graveyards, and I also have a reanimation package, so I think this needed to go too. Like, I understand wanting this to just absolutely nuke artifacts, but the negative synergy is rough. That said, like, this was a fun league to play. I enjoyed playing it. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. Please consider leaving a like on the way out if you didn't do that already. See ya!